Well, hello everybody. It looks like we are live again, and looks like we got a pretty good bunch over there in chat. My goodness, we got my friend, the original Brian Gillen. We got Gary Spikes Sr., who I got to speak to Gary in person here the other day. Welcome, Prepper Camper. There's Joe from Western New York Bigfoot, hiking deep. David Perkins, my buddy from down south of me. Let's see. Our super moderator, Cashew Gesundheit. I don't want to start the show without thanking her. She does a great job as a moderator, keeping the trolls and the spam at bay so the rest of us can enjoy our visit. So who else have we got here? Patty, welcome, Patty. Big Tomato, that's a new name. Welcome. David, Patty, Gary, Colossus, welcome everybody. Got a real special guest tonight. Of course, all my guests are special, and as always, drop the like, hit that like button, leave a comment, join in the chat if you haven't already. I always mention my book, Kiamichi Bigfoot, Investigating the Oklahoma Sasquatch. It's available on Amazon in ebook or paperback, as well as my book, The Shampe, which is a fictional horror novel based on a monster in a native Choctaw legend. So that being said, I am going to read something from tonight's guest's YouTube channel. And this is, and I will let him pronounce his name. He is of the Lenape Native American tribe of the Turtle Clan. I'm just going to read a little bit from his YouTube channel on the his about page. He says, "I am Lenape of the Turtle Clan and very proud of my heritage. I am a full-on product of my mother, the earth. I love all things nature." See, I already like this guy. "As a purpose, I feel it is a duty and a privilege to protect and work with my mother, the earth, as well as all my brothers and sisters that dwell upon her. I am remember this part, guys. I am a through hiker, that part that has gotten old, although my hikes do not include multiple miles across the country anymore. They have more become hideaway bush camps where I test my skills of outdoor living." And he goes on the question here, and I've been following this gentleman for a good while, when just on his bushcraft videos and such as that. But he's been making a lot of videos lately exploring the Bigfoot mystery. And here he asks this question: is Bigfoot, Grassman, Sasquatch, and a Yeti the same? Let's explore cryptic lore of Ohio together. And I definitely want to do that tonight. He said, "In these videos," this is about his channel, "I will share my adventures and educate in my heritage of the Lenape Indian and much more, like Bigfoot research and other cryptid and cryptozoological topics, doing all things to inspire you to get outdoors and enjoy the beautiful gift that thrives all around you." And you know, anybody that lives by that is all right in my book. And with that being said, let's everybody welcome. And like I said, he can pronounce his name for you. He said, "Just call me Yankee." And this is Yankee from Yankees Outdoor Adventures. Welcome to the show. How are you doing, brother?
I am doing great. I am doing great. I will throw it out there one time for you. I am Maèxelawèn Osapèkwinùnt, but you can call me Yankee. And we'll just go from there.
You know, and as we were talking before, here in Oklahoma, the native people that are around me, like myself, I'm of Cherokee heritage partly, and the Cherokee language, Choctaw and Chickasaw, is where I'm right smack in the middle of Chickasaw Nation right here. But the pronunciations of these tribes are very different from what you said there. And the Lenape, you said, are Delaware, one of the Delaware tribes. So that would explain that perhaps. Just like I know I don't realize what an accent I've got till I start talking to somebody from further north or even further south, you know. So anyway, so Yankee, I feel awkward calling you Yankee. I just wish I could pronounce properly.
It's honestly, it's all right. I've I've worked for a living, had everyone on jobs call me Yankee. It's normal to me. So just accept it.
Yeah. Now here's something for laughs. Down here in the South where I live, usually when somebody down here says Yankee, they're kind of being a jerk. Okay.
Well, you know what? I love that. And let me tell you a little something.
Okay.
A word.
I gotcha.
Yeah, a word, Yancey. Okay, which sounds very much like Yankee. Okay, sounds very much like Yankee. Has a meaning of kind of in the same sense, a person who not afraid to collaborate with European people as a neighbor. Okay. So when I was young, I was relocated a few times growing up, and I wound up not being from the South, but living many years of my young life in the South. So being called a Yankee was hurtful at first, but I had a family member explain to me the value of a Yancey. And that just because these white boys can't pronounce it right, don't feel bad.
Gotcha.
Own that, because that's who you are. Right. And I've been Yankee ever since. So
okay, let me run this out there before we go any further. Down in the description of this here, I have a link to Yankees Outdoor Adventures YouTube channel, and I highly recommend you look at that if you haven't already. He's got a lot of useful videos on there, bushcraft, even how to take a cheap Walmart hatchet and properly throw it and all that. And I want to point out too, I have not a green screen, but a wall behind me of a picture I took. Yankee is literally sitting outdoors by his tent.
We're here together.
And she just doesn't look as interested as you are, but she looks like a nice dog. But also,
she's a good girl.
And also, everyone in chat, if you have any questions for me or for Yankee, please put them in caps, and I will do my best to get to all of them. And Yankee Weaver, we're starting off with 31 people in chat already. That's a pretty healthy start off. So
welcome everyone. Great to have you.
Yeah. So Yankee, when I was reading that, it says, I am a through hiker that has gotten old. Now, are you talking about you have hiked the entire Appalachian Trail?
I have. I've done the entire trail. I've even gone up into Canada. There's some Lenape reservations up in Canada, and that was a destination many years ago. And I went, across up and out. I had mentioned once earlier that probably what people find a little more amazing than the hike is that in addition to the hike, I lived along about 100-mile stretch back and forth for a year, just outright lived along the trail, avoided rangers and things like that because actually what I was doing really isn't permitted. But then again, this is also 30 years ago, guys. I'm an old man. I've actually broke 60. So, there you go.
Hey, you got an old enemy here. You might want to read this. Can you read that on the screen?
The Seminoles on the shore.
Yeah. Chris is a Seminole. Delaware fought against us Seminoles on the shore of Lake Okeechobee in 1837. No hard feelings.
There's the Lenape actually had taken a split route, though. There was several clans that stuck with the Americans, and there were several clans that actually sided with France. So there was actually our brother against brother war was taking place while you all were fighting for liberty and justice and the American way.
Yeah. We already got one question for you here. This may be jumping the gun a little bit, but I'm going to throw it up there so we don't bypass it. Have you ever had a Bigfoot encounter, Yankee?
Okay. I've never had a personal Bigfoot encounter that I would say, like, went out in the woods one day, had, well, I mean, I shared a really incredible encounter that a gentleman shared with me. I never had anything like that personally happen to me, but let me stop there a minute, not stop there a minute, because as a Native American, I have gone on vision quest. Now, it's a mistake if you all right away think that that means it's some type of drug infused wandering in the woods. It's not correct at all. In fact, visions can be brought on without any help of drugs. It comes down to more of dehydration and starvation. But nevertheless, I have been on many vision quests, and I have encountered the keeper of the forest, which maybe you guys call Bigfoot, but that's yet to be decided. That's yet to be decided. That's all I can say. That's part of my investigations.
Tell me that name for the keeper of the forest.
Missing, the Missingu.
Missingu. Now, do you, real quick question, Prepper Camper said, is your dog a cane corso?
She is a Brazilian and English Mastiff mix.
Ah, okay. So anyway, this Missingu, and I watched that video you did about that, and is the general consensus that that is the same thing as the Sasquatch, or?
It's part of the twisted lores. Okay. How to really explain all this? So many Bigfoot tales and stories. When you get into the research of where Bigfoot came from, when did this all start? They all want to lead you back to Native Americans, which is okay in some aspects, but it's not okay in all aspects. The Lenape has been named outright in Grassman legends as well as Bigfoot legends. But I'm here to tell you, the wild people that they were talking about had nothing to do with Bigfoot. But that's what people try to twist these stories. And actually what they're doing is they're taking Missing, because Missing was a 9-foot tall man who he was so big that one bear fur wouldn't fit him. He wore 2 bear furs. He covered himself from head to toe in bear fur, and he stood 9 foot tall. Like I said, that is a kind of a description of a Bigfoot. I'll buy that. But if you listen to his lore, of course, he's not Bigfoot. So the Lenape also have another legend of Manitou, which are animal-like men.
Right. I've heard of that.
Okay. Right. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm going to guarantee most of you's had, but the problem is I'm going to bring you back out of what you heard and give you a little bit of realization to it, because the Manitou, which are, again, have the description in their actions as Bigfoot, but not the look. Manitou only stand 3 foot tall.
Okay.
Okay, now that's a pretty important detail, but a lot of the Bigfoot researchers leave that out.
Interesting. So you encountered this, not that one, but the first one you said.
I had, look, I personally believe, and so this goes into my own core belief, but I believe that not only is everything around us alive, but it is just as in tune with the reality that you are in tune with. It is just as welcoming. A tree is just as welcoming to a good morning as you are. And so to say that the woods itself is alive.
Absolutely.
Okay. On a spiritual aspect, are there things that protect? You know, I mean, if you're a Christian, you believe in angels. If you're A native, you believe in a same, more or less the same thing, but a protector of something different. Right. Natives weren't worried so much about their soul as they were about the mother who gave us all life. So that's what it all comes back to. It comes back to the earth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm in agreement with you on that stuff. You know, we spoke just a little bit, and there's two things I don't get deeply into on these things, and it's religion and politics. Now,
right.
If you are my close friend and I am comfortable, man, I can talk religion, politics, whatever. People think I'm not opinionated. I'm quite opinionated.
Well, I generally try to avoid it myself.
Yeah, but you said something very important. You says, well, I am a spiritual person. And to me, any person that can spend time in the wilderness and after experiencing the solitude and that harmony and not be a spiritual person, to me, that is heartbreaking if a person could not. I'm
not connected until I'm outside. And that's why, like, this guy's what you see here behind me, as I was saying earlier, I know it was before the show, this is my summer home you're looking at right there. That's my summer house. That's where I live. This is that's my kitchen. You see it right there? It's my kitchen. This is my entertainment. It's my big movie screen. This is where I live. And this is when I'm most comfortable. I am out of place in town. I am out of place around large groups of people. This is me. This is me.
Me too. I have told people, of course, I have a retail business, and I like people, but anybody that knows me has heard me say, if it wasn't for having to come to town to make a living, I would never leave the woods. I love it out there. I feel, and this is about as far to religion as I'll really get, but I feel closer to God when I am in the middle of the wilderness than I have in any kind of church building I've ever been in.
Well, how can you not? I mean, look at creation firsthand. So how can you not? You are standing in creation when you're out in the wilderness.
You're standing in the middle of what God, when he got through with it, said it is good. And I've got something for you here. This is my friend Joe from Western New York Bigfoot Investigation Group. I've been on he's invited me on his show a couple of times. The forest is alive, and I'm not what I would consider spiritual, but there is no argument that the forest is alive and filled with life. So even if you don't consider yourself spiritual, you still got to recognize that, it's a wonderful thing. So how long did now on the through hiking, I'm fascinated. That's kind of a bucket list thing. I'd love to do that. How long did it take you to hike the entire
I was never okay. First of all, I didn't do like your normal college kid does today. First of all, I don't even consider that through hiking when I listen to, and I'm sorry if I offend anybody out there who's doing it, but here's a fact. If you're getting a motel room, if you're hitchhiking to the next trailhead, if you're going and having dinner at Arby's, you're not doing the same type of through hike I did. You're not experiencing what I experienced. But I didn't keep time limits. It wasn't about time to me. It was about not being anywhere to me. So to spend an extra day because I like the view, gotcha. No problem. So spend an extra week because I was tucked in really good.
So you didn't have a schedule you had to meet. You took your time, savored it every bit of the way. Friend Chris Kimball.
Straight up bum.
Chris Kimball here. He says, I've lived out in the forest, but I still appreciate the AC in the summertime. I won't argue with that.
I will. Can I for a minute? Because look, my family hates me, but I want it shut off. If they make me come in the house, it's got to be shut off.
Really?
It was 101 degrees today. 101 degrees, right? Unseasonably hot. Everybody walking around here fainting and ducking. Oh, it's so hot. I don't think it's hot at all. It's a beautiful day. Why don't I think it's hot? Because I will not sit in air conditioning. I refuse. That ruins you. It ruins you. Spend a day without AC and see if the outside isn't the refreshing place to go. See, it ain't so hot anymore, you know?
Right. I'm trying to throw some comments up here. I am extremely socially awkward and very much a loner. I love the wilderness. That's where I feel welcome.
That's my brother right there, hiking deep. We are co-workers on a bunch of Bigfoot stuff, and he's priceless to me. This guy right here.
Great. Well, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, me and Yankee were talking before the show. Hopefully, there's some of his subscribers that didn't know me, and maybe some of mine didn't know him, and we get some more people acquainted there. And I'm noticing a few. Here's Bigfoot Bud says AC ruins you. Well, I tell you what, AC, if you're sitting in it, when you go outside, it seems like it's that much hotter. But I tell you, Yankee, if I ever leave Oklahoma, I am going north because I love the green of summer, but I hate the heat. My dream place to retire to is British Columbia, Canada.
Oh.
You know, I'd love to be up there. You know, I do not like the heat.
I don't like the cold. When I was young, I could do it. It was no problem. And let's be honest with you, I know there's a lot of other people that are getting on in years now too. Cold weather hurts. Hot weather never hurts me. And it can be so hot that you're dripping wet, but it doesn't hurt my body. Cold weather hurts, literally. I can't do it. I just can't do it anymore.
I wish I was where you are like that, because in the wintertime, it gets stinking cold. I mean, yeah, I've got a little Cherokee, but the majority of me is Northern European. You know, and that comes out in the winter. I can always put something else on, but when it gets 100 degrees, and as who said, Chris Kimball said, not so much the heat, but the humidity. The humidity down here is ridiculous. A friend of mine from New Orleans was up here, and he said, "Oh, this ain't nothing compared to down there." And I'm like, "Oh, I would just die." But yeah, now my wife, she's from she's from South Korea originally. In the summertime, wintertime, you know, she doesn't run a lot of heater in her house in the wintertime in that. But the summertime, it doesn't bother. She will not turn her AC on. I have to say, I need at least a fan going in here, you know. But okay, here we go. Hiking Deep said, Bigfoot More, where are you? You're in Springdale, Arkansas. I'm in central, well, right on the edge of southeast Oklahoma proper, I guess you'd say. About 90 miles southeast of Oklahoma City, basically.
Well, that's my bad. I actually thought you were in Arkansas. I think I was the one that told him that originally.
Yeah,
sorry, bro.
Chris say Okie land goes from extreme hot to extreme cold. So, Yankee, when did you start your channel?
4 years ago, 4.5 years ago.
Okay.
Did a bunch of different things on the channel over the years.
Yeah. I think I've probably been looking at your channel off and on for probably a couple of years anyway, you know, but not really. I think you and I communicated briefly several months ago. You had mentioned something about us getting together for a podcast or something, and then we just didn't. And then you started doing, and we need to start talking about that too. Here recently, you started doing a lot of videos on the Bigfoot mystery, and I've been commenting on some, and Yankee sent me a message, said, "Hey, we need to collaborate on something." I said, "Well, how about right now? How about coming on the show?" You know, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll be glad to." You know, so what?
Yeah, I want to actually, I want to say about that and encourage anyone, if you there's a lot of shorts going up. I get videos go up too. I actually have something uploaded every 2 days on my channel. So I was excited. Ring the bell, okay, so that you check it out. But it really is valuable to me if you give me your opinion of these little short clips and stuff, because even though some of them I know right out of the gate that, like, I shared one of Oliver. I knew this was Oliver out of the gate, but because it was so popular in the Bigfoot community, it helped me understand my community and what I needed to. I want my community up to base with me as we're searching for Bigfoot. That's what I want. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if I put something out there, you've seen it before. What? Don't be afraid to say, "Oh, hey, you know, this is already debunked," or what. Good. Right. Tell me that, because that helps me know you. That's what it does. And that's what I want to know. I got some educationals coming out. Tomorrow morning drops one about Ostman. Do you know who Ostman was?
Albert Ostman. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, and I knew you would know because you researched your Bigfoot deeply. And that's a name that you would have to go in the Wayback Machine. Right. That's before the footprints became headline news. So, and before, of course, the Patterson film. So,
way before.
Yeah, way before. So, the reason I got some of those coming out, again, this is a goal to get my community. I just want everybody to be up to speed where I am. So, I'm going to throw out some short educationals. I'm going to continue throwing out some of the short, actual Bigfoot clips. May they be or may they not be. And then I'm, trying to do weekly uploads and whatnot as well. My yesterday's upload, I don't know if anybody's seen it, but that guy, man, I don't know if I captured it with altering the voice, but I mean, this dude had so much feeling when he was telling me this account. I felt like I was there, to hear him. So,
right. Well, I'll tell you something I think is important here. Like when you put the video of or pictures of Oliver up there, of course, I knew exactly what that was. That's Oliver, the what they call the human Z or something like that.
Yep.
The Oliver, the human Z, all that. But it is interesting how things that are old like that 20 years ago, everybody knew what it was, but is making its way into social media and YouTube as Bigfoot stuff.
Yeah, it's because these kids, there's 20-year-olds in there. 20 years ago, they weren't even here, so they didn't know what that was. And now they're adult, and now they're seeing some of this for the first time. Right. And it's being used to trick them. I will say this, okay? And I don't know how I believe you guys are serious about your investigations of Bigfoot. And honestly, mine is as well. And one of the things that I find that is most troubling when trying to get to any fact is when the fiction lays in there. That's a malicious place of fiction that throws off the entire program. You know what I mean? And I run into the fiction, and that's really more than anything, if somebody fakes something, they're hurting the cause. They're not helping the cause. Right. And I can see how a lot of guys can fall into that trap, because if you promise for a year to find Bigfoot, eventually you're going to have to find Bigfoot, or you're going to, you know what I'm saying? And these guys cross that line and they find.
We say Slicker, the online store. Look in the description under there. There's links to my books and merchandise there if you want that. But yeah, as far as you're talking about the fiction, some people say, well, that's just harmless, and different people handle that differently. I know I've got friends that have YouTube channels that they directly confront that. Me, I just don't give it the time of day. But it's damaging to people like myself and you and others that I know that don't want to waste their time
right.
with stuff like that. I put it like this: if you want to do something fiction, make it a creepypasta and make a video. There'll still be a lot of people watch it, but you're not deceiving people. You know, and I've been doing this long enough that, and people that's followed me long probably remember me saying, but I've looked into this long enough that some of the sightings from, like, say, Oklahoma that happened like back in the 90s, I was on the ground floor of. And now when those stories are retold, they're like, we talking about the same thing? You know, because that's not how it was. It's just,
right.
As my friend up in British Columbia, Thomas Steenberg, I call him one of the old guard. He knew all the, like John Green and all them, says, stick to the facts and don't deviate from the facts. It's a very simple, common sense thing, but man, is that so important. You know,
it is.
If you see a Bigfoot cross the road, don't 10 years down the road say, I saw a Bigfoot cross the road carrying a dead one over its shoulder. It's like, wait a minute, I heard you tell that story the first time. How did you overlook that very important thing there?
Well, once see, and now I'm not sure how you go about your investigations, but for me, okay, here we're looking at, first of all, a lot of the things just come at us as video without any backstory. So all we get is face value of what we see. Those are like the hardest thing in the world. I mean, I can sit in that seat and say, okay, face value. Wow, that was wild. But to ever be able to get definitive proof out of that without backstory, without the other information, it's probably not going to happen. The best evidence is when you have an actual person who has an account. When you talk about that, it comes down to now hanging on every word. You got to deduct the same way a police officer would deduct whether or not he's talking to a criminal when he's got a suspect in the room, because you got to look in between the lines of their words, and you got to wait to see if they trip up and if they repeat things wrong a week later. And all this stuff is all part of the same investigation. And again, not many people can pass that part of the test. As a police officer will even tell you, an eyewitness is only credible for the first 8 hours that he actually seen the crime. And most witnesses aren't even interviewed.
And depending on how traumatic the event was, a lot of times they don't remember it accurately. I was a police officer for a while. I was a reserve officer here in my small town that I work in for 13 years. I wasn't one of these gung-ho guys, but what I did learn from it, I interacted with a lot of people, interviewed a lot of people, took reports from a lot of people. So you learn. I learned some very valuable tools there.
24 hours after I seen something, it's going to be tainted when I tell you about it. Even if I'm going to try my best not to, I am still going to taint it with my own fill in the blanks. That's what our brain does.
Yeah, it does. And, there's
been some really cool experiments. The test
there has been
actual fact.
But there is a big difference in somebody that's intentionally trying to deceive and somebody that just their brain kind of scrambled over something traumatic,
right.
Like for instance, a long time ago, I did an experiment with some nieces and nephews camping with them. I had a guy come up behind a tree at the edge of camp and growl, like he was a Bigfoot. Of course, they all ran out of there. I said, describe to me what you saw. And it was a friend of mine I had do it. And they said, it was, I don't know. I said, was it a Bigfoot? Yeah, it was. I said, was he tall? Yeah, 8 foot tall. The guy was like 5'4". And I said, and this is my nephew. If he is watching this, he would back this up. I said, people say Bigfoot smells bad. He goes, it smelled terrible. Okay.
Yeah, you were leading the witness.
I was doing it on purpose. Now, but in his mind, he thought he was actually retelling it because he was scared of it. And of course, I said,
Exactly.
okay, that was an experiment I did. And of course,
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of them done. There was
ago.
one done that they televised, and they brought a group of people through the woods, and for one little split second on the trail, they had one vehicle, one man in a hazmat suit, and one flashing light. And they told everybody as they got to that part of the trail that something's going on. We were told that we're not supposed to be here, so I want everybody to move as quick as you can through this area, and we're just going to keep going and pretend you didn't see nothing. And then they interviewed them all when they got back. One group they told that it was the FBI. One group they told that it was cops, and one group they told that it was they didn't know what it was. The ones who didn't know what it was, they kind of seen the smaller scene. The one who told it was FBI, they seen like 50 cops in there. You know, I mean, it's amazing what they see once they were given a little bit of information. You know,
your audio is going kind of bad there, Yankee.
I may have to back out and come back in. It's happened to me before.
Okay, so you kind of sound like a duck. Let me read this. It's incredulous enough to some people to hear you say you simply encountered one, but then add in mind speak, portals, cloaking, etc., and your credibility takes a dive. Are you back in?
I'm gonna have to pull out altogether, and you're gonna have to bring it back in.
Okay. All right.
I'll be right back.
Well, okay. There's Malcolm. He's gonna come back in. Maybe we'll get his audio straightened out. Let me see here. If anybody got any questions that I'm missing, man, we got a good number of people in chat here. Filthy Casual reminds me of those two guys who literally stuffed a Bigfoot in a Halloween costume into a freezer and sent it in. Yeah, that was Tom Biscardi's little scam he ran here a few years ago. And it turned out it was a Bigfoot costume that they stuffed some like guts from a roadkill inside of it, put some dentures literally in its mouth. And of course, Biscardi, he quite the promoter. He built it up like it was something real. And there's Yankee going to bring him back.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm going to try to get some light. Also, it's got dark all of a sudden.
But yeah, that was that's probably 6 or 8 years ago when that happened. But yeah, that was pretty bad. Let's see. Way to get news. Being caught up on the. Here's your friend. I worked with a major TV network, field research, among other things. I researched so many reports that were total BS. The grifters hurt all of us who take this topic seriously. And I'll tell you, they're going back to this. Two things, and I'm sure I'm just saying the obvious to pretty much everybody here, but anybody that tells you that they can guarantee you're going to find a Bigfoot, or they're going to find it, or they're going to take you out in the woods and they guarantee a Bigfoot experience, don't waste your money. And the reason I say don't waste your money is because if they're doing that, they're going to ask you for money. Okay. And the other one, there are no experts in this. Anybody that tells you they are a Bigfoot expert, they should have a disclaimer that says for entertainment purposes only. So, I mean, if there were any experts, we would know. There wouldn't still be the Bigfoot mystery, would it?
No. I mean, that's right.
Dave Watch, let me see here. Western. Oh, yeah. Joe, watch Nikki's show. Rick Dyer admits all. Yeah, Rick Dyer was the one that stuffed the Bigfoot costume with the guts and put the dentures in it, put it in the freezer. And You remember that a few years ago, Yankee, saying he
Yeah.
shot one. And you know, the thing about Rick Dyer is, and I'm not going to say that the guy's a bad guy or anything, but this was a person who I don't believe takes the subject of Bigfoot seriously in the first place. And I believe that guy was just pulling a prank. And with Bacardi involved in it, there was the opportunity to get some financial benefits from it as well. You know, Bacardi, he's a promoter. So that was, the only thing that surprised me about that is some people actually took it serious from the first, because if you saw the dummy in the freezer, it was just obvious that, you know, but, you know, and that's another phenomenon, Yankee, that I've seen a lot. Some people want to believe so much that even the most obvious fake, they fall into it. You know, and that's not just in this subject. I mean, you get into certain religious cults and stuff that you're like,
well, religion's a good example because you know there's not too many things in the world that you cannot see, touch, feel it. You can't smell it. You can't do anything with it. But yet you can get in an argument over it's being real or not.
Well, case in point, the Heaven's Gate cult a few years ago, where all the people committed mass suicide, those were all, to a man and woman in there, highly educated individuals, yet still they committed suicide so they could catch the Hale-Bopp flying saucer. And the thing is, it's a different part of the brain that reacts to that type of thing than reacts to rational thought. That's why, and this is the truth. Rational part of yourself is totally separate from the part that falls into things like that.
Right.
We are strange creatures, aren't we, Yankee?
Human beings in general. You are not kidding, man. It's a miracle we got as far as we have gotten.
So getting back on the line with the Bigfoot stuff, what was it that got you to? It seemed like all of a sudden here in the last little bit,
I always have
many of these videos.
Well, I've always had an interest in it, and I've always dabbled in the topic. I mean, I think I got a 4-year-old video of the 5 most popular cryptid creatures in Ohio.
Gotcha.
It's it's a 4-year-old video. So I mean, I've always dabbled in it. As far as to be so serious in it now, isn't that I am more serious about it. I've actually always been as serious as I am. It's just the fact that I've decided to make the channel more serious about it. And that's all. I decided to niche down on the channel and make the channel about cryptids. I'm not going to say just Bigfoot because we got a lot of them here in Ohio, man. If you're on a Bigfoot trail, you're going to cross paths with at least 2 other creatures.
Yeah. Well, and now before it's over with, I'm going to ask you about some other cryptids and not ask you to commit to them, but just what you think. Now, up in Ohio, Brent, this is my buddy Brent from up in Washington State, has a YouTube channel called The Tall Ones. Hard to trust someone that already got busted for hoaxing. And, you know, there's a good point there. There is a term that, I don't know if you've heard it, we call it Ivan Marks syndrome. Have you heard that?
No, I haven't heard it that way. But
Ivan Marks was one of the old guard, I guess you'd say, of Bigfoot hunters from way back in the 60s or whatever. And I mean, he was a legit outdoorsman. I mean, for real. And he's a person that found the famous crippled Boswell footprints up in Boswell, Washington. It showed the crippled print. Now, the thing is, later on, he actually hoaxed so many videos and stuff that
he actually came from Ohio.
He did, really?
Yeah. I think you're talking about the same guy. His son later brought out the footprints. His son lives like 30 miles from
No, 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 no. That's a different person.
Not the same guy?
No, not the same guy. If I wasn't trying to think of his name, somebody, Brett, help me out with that. Who's the guy that faked the footprints up in Northern California, and then after he's died, his nephew or whatever showed the fake feet, and I cannot think of his name right now.
Yeah, he was from Toledo, and then his son lives in neighboring county.
He had the work crew that was bulldozing. Ray Wallace is who you're talking about.
Wallace, that's it.
Yeah.
You got it.
But no, Ivan Marsh, the thing is, he faked some Bigfoot videos, which was just obviously a guy in a suit moving around rather awkwardly. That now you got to say, man, was the crippled foot cast, were those fake too? So Ivan Marsh syndrome kind of alludes to somebody who was serious and honest about it at the first, but then maybe for whatever reasons craved the attention he got, then wasn't finding anything new, so they started hoaxing.
Well, that might be the tipping point, for some of these guys, and I think it probably is, because if you have a large audience and you're promising something, and that's, you're in big trouble, because
you can't promise it. I mean, if you or I could promise somebody a Bigfoot encounter, if it was that easy, man, we would have such undeniable proof of it right now that it just wouldn't. Now, here is your friend. Now, this guy hiking deep, is this your actual brother or just somebody you're close to you call brother?
He's close to me like a brother.
Gotcha.
But he's my brother.
He said, I have a hard time with Dogman. If the Dogman is real, it has to be a form of cynocephaly. Now, me, I'm the same way on that. The way I have put it, Dogman, and this is just the opinion of Dave. Don't get offended if you think differently. I'm fine with it, really. I don't think it's a viable biological entity. To me, if Dogman is real, and I've got very close friends who say they've encountered it, who believe in it 100%, I think it would fall more into the paranormal than into flesh and blood. And I'm not saying I don't believe in the paranormal. Yeah, I do think there's a spiritual realm and such there.
Interesting fact. Yankee? I mean, we have hundreds of Dogman sightings here in Ohio, not just one or two. It's stretched out over 9 different counties here, and hundreds of sightings. So
the thing, it comes in, and like I say, I've had guests on this show before that have told me they've had an encounter with one, and I have no doubt that they're telling the truth. Now, so it comes up, the question would be, what is it that they encountered? What is a Dogman? Is it like what people used to call a werewolf? Is it what they're calling a shapeshifter? Is it a paranormal entity, like in the same category as like a ghost or spiritual, something like that? Because to me, it's something very different than, say, a humanoid bipedal Sasquatch that to me is very viable as a biological thing, but a bipedal thing like that with the head of a dog, that's to me, that would go more into the spiritual or the paranormal realm. And that's me talking about something I don't know. It
does have the same exposure as Bigfoot when we talk worldwide. Dogman has been spotted in every country. When I feel where you're coming from, but when you lay it on the table with its evidence, it's all circumstantial and eyewitness evidence, just like Bigfoot. There's no difference when we talk about that. There's been casting of prints. There's been supposed hairs, just like Bigfoot. There's really no difference, except of course, the animal's behavior. But here in Ohio, in certain counties, it's been seen way more than Bigfoot. but again, has the exact same exposure worldwide as Bigfoot.
And as Joe in Western New York, he's not shy at all about putting his opinion about it out there. But one thing that I do very much agree with Joe there is I would rather stay real and say I don't know. And
yeah,
I've said myself, the older I get, the most thing I'm convinced of is my own ignorance on most things. There's a lot more I don't know than I do. But to a sincere person that believes that they saw something like that, I'm not going to insult them by saying, no, you did not, because I wasn't there. Now, the question would be, what is it? I don't think it's in the same category as a Sasquatch myself.
Not by description, no. By description, it's describing a different animal altogether.
Here's a question for you. Yankee, how far back in years does the Dogman encounters go in Ohio?
Oh, in Ohio, one of the first are in this particular region is in the 1800s, and then of course, just like Grassman or Bigfoot, they'll dive into these Native American folklores that take it back even further. I have something to tell you guys about Ohio, especially this region of Ohio. Okay. It was the last area settled right here in Ohio. Okay, it was the very last area that settlers came into. The reason this is important is because when all the natives were pushed from the East Coast and settlers made it all the way into Ohio, this region right here was the front door of the Indian Territory. Every tribe from here to the east came through here if they did not stay here for a period of time. So once you start talking about the authentic natives of the land had this tale, well, as a Native American historian, I'm going to tell you that's BS. For this region here, we don't even have any archaeological proof of who was the tribe that was here before over 600 tribes arrived here. We have no idea. We don't have that. Too much disease, too much death, so many things happen. So, and again, we right away, with all these tales, they want to tie them into Native American folklore and myth. And, it's just, it doesn't always line up. I have found some things in the Western part of our country in my Native American explorations that have unturned some similarities in folklore. But when we're talking about Northeast Woodland Indians, I am your expert on it. And I'm here to tell you that it's misconstrued information about these creatures that they twist to fit the scenario.
Right. Here's your friend here, Hiking Deep, Bigfoot and More. A new trend is the relating Bigfoot with UFOs. I can't get my head around that. Now, that's not as new as what you might think. That's there's a gentleman in Pennsylvania named Stan Gordon who has researched the Bigfoot phenomena for, since the 60s. I mean, he started when he was like a teenager looking into that up there. Are you familiar with him, Yankee? And
yeah.
But what happened in the early 70s, throughout the 70s, there was a rash of Bigfoot sightings in Pennsylvania that there just so happened to be going on at the same time, a bunch of UFO sightings. So there is no debate on whether those things were both happening at the same time. The thing is, are they related to each other, or is that a coincidence? Was the Bigfoot just as disturbed by seeing a UFO out there, or was the UFO people coming, or whatever's on there, coming down to check out the Sasquatch? I mean, we don't know. But again, they call that happened so much during that time that they call it the Pennsylvania effect. Now, again, a lot of those reports did come in. Some of them even by law enforcement and stuff, that you can't say these people were just making it up. But is there an actual connection between those sightings of the UFO and the Bigfoot, or was it just coincidental that they happened at the same time? Now you can check out. You know what? If I think I should call Stan Gordon. I've got some of his books, and he puts his phone numbers in there. I ought to call him and have him come on the show, because this is the second show I've had somebody's brought that up. So if anybody's an expert on that aspect of it, Stan Gordon is. Do you have anything to add to that, Yankee?
I don't know. I mean, you know, as far as whether or not they're related, I don't know. As a sky watcher, I love to look at the stars at night. If you spend a lot of time outdoors, it tends to be a type of entertainment for you. I can actually tell time with the stars, just like you do with a clock. I got a video about that, though. You can do it too. It's easy. In my life, I have seen more things in the sky that I couldn't explain than I have on the ground. So, you know, I mean, but what is an unidentified flying object? It's any object that you can't identify.
It's something you can't
and
identify.
I'm no expert when it comes to a light moving across the sky. I couldn't tell you what it is. If it's not going to land here, so I will never know. It will always be an unidentified flight.
Well, I tell you, my guest last week, Shelly Harris, who's an old friend of mine, she actually participated in the Bigfootville documentary with me. And back a long time ago, I had a website called southernbigfoot.com. She was I don't like to call her my investigator. She participated in that with me, and she was excellent at it. But she was also an investigator for MUFON. And so she's got a lot. And I tell you what, a lot of the stuff she did for MUFON, confidential, because, you know, just like if I investigate a Bigfoot sighting, if that person tells me, keep this between me and you, I don't repeat it. And a lot of that is, you know, especially in the UFO thing, you know, if you have a cop telling you that, he may want to keep that there because that may hurt his job or whatever. So,
I'm fortunate enough to know a lot of rangers and stuff. So I do get stories from them, but so many times it's under that arrangement right there that, you know what, you can't tell anybody, but I'll tell you, you know, which is great. It's fun to hear. But I don't know if it really helps me on my investigations. Right. You know, I need, I think I need someone to own what they're going to tell me. And, you know.
Hey, I got to say a big thank you to Steve Walden for your support there. He's made a contribution to my show here. Awesome. I really, really appreciate that. Yankee, we have 50 people participating in chat right now.
That is incredible. If anyone's got any questions, please fire away.
Yeah, guys, listen, if I don't get your question, it is not on purpose. I'm looking through this and making sure. Let's see here. Yeah, and you know, and I know a lot of the folks in here, and some of them I've met in purpose. I met in person, and you know, Yankee, I have actually made some who I consider good friends through this YouTube channel that I've met and camped with, and all of that stuff. So, and another thing, man, I tell you, my chat, I've been very fortunate. We haven't had problems with trolls and stuff like that. We've just had some good discussions. Here we go. This is somewhere in one of your compadres here, or in your state. This is my friend Will Starr. He's up in Ohio.
I am up here in the swampland of Ohio. I'm in what's known as the Black Swamp region. It was the largest black swamp on the East Coast, largest swamp on the East Coast.
Yeah.
But it's not a swamp anymore.
But yeah, y'all, and if you haven't already, check out Will Starr's YouTube channel. If you like historical Bigfoot reports, he does a lot of those. And I've even, he's kind of been my go-to here lately if I'm trying to refresh my memory on some of those old historical ones and,
excellent,
and all that. So, yeah, and Will, I want to have him on the show here if we can get our schedules lined up. You know, It's just sad to have to work for a living, you know it.
I'm still a bum.
Here's is Yankee near any Hopewell mounds?
There is actually one right here on the river. They excavated and found well, it's a grave. They discovered it was a grave, but they found some mastodon bones.
Oh wow.
Believe it or not. So I mean, we're talking extremely old. But when they found the mastodon bones, it was at a certain level. They went down deeper. Then a rumor, and this is all I can tell you guys because this is all I know about it. I've gone back in there, but everything's covered up right now. A rumor that they found bones of a giant. That's the rumor.
Yeah.
Then whatever happened there, after they found the mastodon bones, they announced they were going deeper, and then they killed the whole project and buried it all back over.
Wow.
And, and the college still owns the land, and they won't let anybody in on it. I've been on it, but everything's covered up.
Okay. Django, a grassman, from my understanding, that's Sasquatch in Ohio.
Yeah, or maybe a little bit stalkier, a touch more stalkier Bigfoot, a little more. Maybe. I always say Ohio's got some of the most polluted water in the world. In fact, the river here in Ohio, and same with the one through Detroit. That's up in Michigan, but same deal though. But the river has caught on fire twice in history.
That's not a good sign.
Okay. So Grassman is a little bit different than a Bigfoot, but I've got a suspicion that it could possibly be Bigfoot whose generations have drank too much Ohio water. I know that sounds funny, but we got fish with 3 eyes and stuff in these rivers.
Oh,
so,
mercy. Here's a good question for you. What was the strangest experience Yankee had on the through hike?
Strangest experience would come from other people. Not creatures, not wildlife, but other individuals that you kind of, one of the biggest things people will tell you, and they're wrong when they say it, is I was in the middle of the woods and I was all alone. There wasn't nobody for 100 miles. I'm here to tell you, there's somebody everywhere. And you get yourself into one of those places and have these people pop up on you, and you'll understand that this world's a lot more populated than y'all realize. And when it comes to deep woods, I did find out that there are, again, there's a lot of years ago, but I know it still goes on yet today. There are people that literally live that way. Back when I was a young man, it wasn't nothing for what we call hippies to get a little commune going together and live off the grid. Well, you know what? There's people like that in the middle of the woods, in some of the deepest, darkest spots of the woods where you thought nobody existed. Well, there they are. They're that deep so they don't get caught.
Yeah.
And if you get near them, they may very well try to scare you away with several tactics.
I have had a couple of years ago, I went really deep down the Kiamichi Mountains, and I'm always armed, I'm not, I don't kill anything unless I'm going to eat it, right? But I do carry a weapon for protection. And I had a pickup with about 3 meth heads pull up and stop and just stare at me. And I'm way out in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, my goodness. So they couldn't see that I was armed. So I stood up, faced them, and started to walk toward them, just say, hey, how you doing? They see my sidearm, and they decided to find another place to be. and I never saw them again. But I have no doubt that what they were doing was scoping me out to see if I was a soft target or not. I have no doubt whatsoever.
Yeah, could have very well been. Or, the other thing too, because again, I grew up southeast corner of Kentucky. We did all kinds of shady stuff, and we did it all in the woods where nobody could see us. But moonshine, make meth, grow marijuana. These are all things that happen way out of the city. And if you come anywhere near it, the people who are doing it are going to try their best to scare you the hell out of there, run you off in some manner, because they don't need this exposed. And believe me, that is a true aspect. And when you got to keep that in mind when you hear about certain Bigfoot sightings or any cryptic sighting, that you may be dealing with transits. You may be dealing with a homeless group, or whatever word you want to label them with.
Right. Here's a deal. I think this is up around your neck of the woods. Opinions on the Mothman.
He's there. I mean, it's another one that's got multiple sightings. If you want to take eyewitness accounts, I have problems with any creature whose eyes light up on the room.
I do too.
Okay.
We have animals
not alone with that.
Reflective eyes.
Yeah, I get if I shine a light and it shines back like any animal does anywhere you go. Walk through the woods and shine your light through the trees. You'll spot a raccoon and a possum all by his eyes, because they shine when the light hits them. But Mothman's one of those dudes. It'd be like pitch black, and he turns to you, and his eyes are glowing red. And you're gonna have to give me a creature that does that to get me on a normal plane with that. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's not real. I'm saying I need help crossing that bridge.
Right. Yeah, and that again, is that a viable flesh and blood creature, or are we talking about bleed over into a paranormal type thing? And again, that's not me being critical of anybody that says they saw this or that. I like the way you put it. I need help with that, So it's a different deal. Now, one of the funniest things I ever saw dealing with Mothman was that funny show on TV called Mountain Monsters. Have you seen that? Okay,
I've heard of it. I haven't really watched.
I mean, it's satire. Anybody that watches that, there's no way you think it's serious. But they were up investigating the Mothman. So one of those guys with chain link fence builds the world's biggest bug zapper to try.
I've heard of guys build stuff like that to keep people away. Keep people away.
I laughed so hard at that. The world's biggest bug zapper. But hey, I live in a state where we have a state representative who made legislation for a Bigfoot trapping season down here. And I wished I was making that up. I'm like, oh my gosh. So yeah, we got one of our own mountain monster crew in our state legislature. I'm going to say that one of these times, and he's going to come over here and be mad at me or something, but I don't care. Hey, politicians are fair game.
He's probably got something that drives his opinion, though. I'd like to hear what it is.
It's not. He'll tell you what it is. It's a prank to draw tourism, is what it is.
Okay.
But it's foolhardy because what if you have somebody out there making some kind of unsafe trap and some unsuspecting hiker or whatever falls in it or gets stabbed by it or what? To me, it's very. Here's a filthy casual says Mothman is strictly a paranormal phenomenon. Doesn't mean it's not real. Just means it can't be measured or verified.
There you go.
Excellent way to put that. See,
there you go.
See, the chat is very useful sometimes when I just can't find the words I'm looking for.
Yeah, they did great. That was great.
Yeah, here's my friend Gary Spikes. Y'all have a good night and better day tomorrow to go. Good night, all. Good night, Gary. Thanks for stopping by. And thanks for stopping by the store the other day. I enjoyed the visit with you, man. Let's see. Mothman was a jetpack test. Don't know what that is.
a jetpack tag. Mothman flies, so you know.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Yeah, please do Cashew says leave a comment after the show. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And hey, I'm going to throw this out here, guys. Listen, I about 2 months ago published my book, Kiamichi Bigfoot: Investigating the Oklahoma Sasquatch. I've been looking into this phenomenon for a long time, so I'm thinking of starting another one, and I'm going to have a chapter in it called Other Cryptids. Okay, just because these reports come in. So if anyone's out there that's got a strange encounter like that you would like to throw my way, especially if it happened in Oklahoma, because that's my focus, send it to me in an email at bigfootandmore@yahoo.com. Bigfootandmore@yahoo.com. But yeah, here's my friend David Perkins here. He said, I find mountain monsters hilarious. And David, I think that is the intention. I think those guys, they would be a hoot to hang out with. I tell you what. Let's see. Yeah, again, Colossus, this is something that I have no idea. I've heard people say things with no eye shine or shapeshifters. Man, that is so far out above my pay grade that I don't even know. I don't discourage any comment, but I don't find myself qualified there. Yeah, I love mountain monsters. Let me see. I know I got to get caught up over here, Yankee, and make sure we don't miss anybody. Well, yeah, here's Joe, Western New York Bigfoot. He said, I might not give Bigfoot much credence at this point if I had not seen the physical evidence of it glaring at me from 40 feet away. And I don't know if you can.
I can relate with that. I mean, if that's just it. You know, I got airplanes flying over, so you might have a little bit of gas.
But if you see Yankee, his avatar there, that face in it of Western New York here, that is he had an artist draw a picture of the face of the thing that was staring at him, and that's awesome. That's what that is there. Let's see.
I'd love to talk to you about it sometime if you ever get a chance. I mean, I got all kinds of contact information in my about section. Hit me up. Hit me up.
Yeah. Matter of fact, if you go to Joe's YouTube channel at Western New York, he has live broadcasts very, very often. So he's very easy to get a hold of.
Hold on one second. I'm right with you.
Here's Pyro. I didn't give much credit to Mothman until Small Town Monsters showed an ancient stone carving of him on their show. I haven't seen that. First thing I ever seen about Mothman was it was some type of a harbinger of doom or something where that bridge fell. But yeah, that's interesting. Let's see what we got here. Well, that's a good. I don't know, James. What would fly over the top of you at about 100 feet with its wings tucked back, clipping along at a fast speed enough that you can hear the air cutting with a human-like body about 4 by 8 feet? I don't know. Is that something, James, that you witnessed yourself? I'm not familiar with it there. Says black and all my hair was standing on. So that's something that you saw. Wow. I have no idea. I have no idea. See.
All right. I'm still with you, brother. I was just getting.
Yeah. I'll comment on that. Here's one that, can we get an honest opinion from the guests on the Texas Zoo photo? Okay. Who was it the other day was I watching did a breakdown of that? My thoughts, it's somebody in a costume or a paper cutout behind the fence. That's what I think it is. but that's just me. I don't. Do you know what he's talking about, Yankee?
Yeah, I put it up on my channel.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's over there. You can see it on my channel if you want. I had a friend tell me they'd seen a moving video of it. Although we were unable to find it anywhere, it was deleted or it was pulled back down. The still picture could be anything, guys. I mean, you want my honest opinion on it? It could be anything. You're looking at a almost transparent item with a camera. All right, with a camera set up at a yard camera. If you were to take a piece of glass, okay, so that the camera's seeing through it, but angle the glass. So the camera's seeing right through it, but the glass is angled. Now hit it with any type of reflection, like put light on me while I stand under the glass. Right. You'll get a transparent picture of me at a distance on the camera. That's really what that reminded me of when I seen the still shot, was what a reflection forced onto a camera lens looks like at a distance. Even though you see the fence looks like it's in front of it, that's the same exact effect you'll get if you do what I'm telling you with the angled piece of glass. It actually puts it behind it. Why? Well, because the fence is really there and the item isn't, so the fence comes to the front in the visual. Gotcha. But that's my honest opinion. But as far as, I have no proof to back that any more than than the other way. So I'd love to see it myself.
John Ayers has a good thought on it. How do we get people to the zoo? 101.
There you go.
That may be what it is. Let's see. Yeah, that's what I said earlier. With the first, back in the 70s, there was a book called The Mothman Prophecies. And I remember reading, I was like 10 years old. I remember reading it. I bought it just because the cover art was by Frank Frazetta when I thought it was cool. But basically, it was before this bridge collapse up there. People were reporting seeing this. So it was taken as a harbinger of doom. And Bigfoot Bud here says Mothman has supposedly been seen all over the world, especially before disasters. So here's meth heads scare me more than bear or Bigfoot in the deep woods. Always carry protection. Yeah.
Man, you got that right. I don't go without it. I don't go nowhere without it.
Let's see. I heard the FBI confiscated the video, said it never existed. Are you talking about the zoo video?
The zoo. He's talking about the zoo, because there was a video and then it was like gone. It was there for a short time and it came from a very credible person that the video was there. I don't believe he would have made that up.
Here's your friend here, Hiking Deep, said I saw a moving image of it.
Witness. That's my credible witness.
Only a few seconds and looked like claymation. It wasn't fluid. The video was quickly removed and now can't be found. And there's the other deal too. If the video was so bad, it was obviously hoaxed. Maybe the people that were responsible just took it away so it couldn't be analyzed. And that's probably the more realistic of it. Again, I have no way to know one way or the other. Target.
Now it fit a Dogman description, though, in a way, right? So
Yeah.
Didn't have long enough ears. Dogman's got really big pointy ears.
Well, on The Howling, you did. Did you ever see that movie, the old movie, The Howling?
Yeah, The Howling. Yeah.
Dude, those were the most scary looking werewolves of any movie before or since. I was like, when did that come out? 1980, 81. I saw that. I was like 13, and Man, I even looked at the woods differently for a little bit after that. Let's see here. Hey, does anybody else have any questions for Yankee? You know, we peaked out at about 50 people in chat there for a little, but I think a lot of folks are going to bed now. We're seeing them. Some of them say, "Gotta go."
We'll definitely thank everybody for coming. That's for sure.
Yeah. Here's Joe says, "I have a werewolf costume more convincing looking than that zoo pic." That's kind of my thought. I thought it was just maybe not even somebody in a suit, but more like just a cutout of something at first. But if there was video of it actually moving, I don't know. But my honest opinion, I don't think it's a werewolf hanging out at the zoo for whatever reason.
Probably not.
Now, if it was a chicken pen, maybe, I don't know.
He did kind of have a little weasel look about him, didn't he?
Yeah. Here's,
I think it's my brother Weasel.
Here's another one of my longtime people here. Abnormal Investigations rendered that it was a video as well, and his video about it was put on notice by YouTube. Huh. Yeah, Dog Soldiers is my favorite werewolf movie. The only thing, man, there's too much spandex in those costumes. But yeah, it was a pretty decent movie. Man, I'll tell you what, Cashew, our super-powered moderator, she can find links to anything. You just mention it, and she's got it. The Howling on Tubi TV. But one of the creepiest things about that movie is the love scene where the two are out in the woods making out, and both of them turn into werewolves. There's just something not right about it. That's just not natural.
I've been accused of that once.
Yankee. Oh, here we go. Here's another. What are your thoughts, Yankee, on Sasquatch being an actual biological species? There we go.
I'm not against it. Look, guys, we have discovered new discoveries.
Your voice is bad again.
You know what I got to do, man? I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. He's got to. When his audio goes bad, he's got to go off and come back on. So I'll bring him right back on here. But that's good. Being an actual biological species. Casual, I think absolutely that's what it would be. And my thoughts on it. And again, just my thoughts. I think it's more than likely another type of a human species, or at least one very closely related to us. I don't believe it's a monkey. Now I'll let Yankee run with it.
Well, as I was going to say earlier, is we discover species of all different types all the time. I am open to a discovery of such, but as far as I don't know if I feel the same way about all of the cryptids. At least Bigfoot, there's a logical possibility. And with some of the creatures, for me, I lose my logic in it. It doesn't seem logical to me. And I want to say it that way to me because, we base our own knowledge and experience on our own experiences. This is how we learn what's what around us, is by living and seeing and witnessing. I haven't ever seen anything that projects light from its eyes or has the ability to stand as tall as a human being and fly. It's a pretty big feat that you're saying. I mean, there's big birds in the world, but the bigger a bird gets, the less abilities it usually has of flying any distance. And
the condor is more of a glider.
Right. Yeah. But they become real uniform in their look also. Right. You don't ever see anything that stands bipedal like a man that has an ability to fly. That's really a big feat for wings, I should say.
you know.
But yeah, going to Joe here, where we're talking about the Bigfoot, it looks like a primate closer to us than any of the other great apes. And if you can really see the picture of the face, and Joe had a really good look at his face. That's not the face of a monkey. That's a very human-like face. And
well, let me ask you this. Just throw it out there. Were you near any type of area that would offer a subterranean lifestyle? Were there caves? Are there any large geode structures that you can go inside of? Things along those lines.
Here's a good one right here, and we'll come to Joe if he puts that back up there. Are there many stories of little people?
And many of them may actually lead back to Lenape. That's the Lenape's tied into the Grassman legend here, but it's a misunderstanding of the little people is where they tie that in, and all of a sudden they take all the actions of these little people and they turn him into a 9-foot creature, and that's just not the same creature. But yeah, you'll actually come across a lot of Lenape legends of little people in this area. But the Lenape had a stronghold here when they first came in. Again, like I said, many tribes came in to this particular area right here. It is the front door to the Indian Territory and the very last place in Ohio to be settled by Europeans.
So Joe said no caves that I know of.
Okay.
So
it's one of the comparisons I have been coming across with my investigations. I've been finding that there's a lot of times there's a possibility of there being a lot of cave systems in the same area. Now, the difference where there isn't caves, this is where some researchers claim that if you see Bigfoot in these areas, it's because you're catching him migrating. In some areas, they can't get to where they're going underground, and they have to come above ground. This is a pretty big theory on it that's fairly popular. I'm sure it's not the first time.
We're looking for pieces of the puzzle. You know, all of these things. You know, let me see here. The Wendigo is not one of the legends around you, is it? Up there in Ohio,
Wendigos would be more of your shapeshifters out west as you get toward the west.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see. Well, guys, is there anyone got any more questions? We've been going for a good hour and a half here. This has been a fun show. I'm kind of jealous a little bit because I'm got a picture in my background of Yankees really out there. Yankee, if I was doing what you're doing where I'm at in Oklahoma, I would be getting eaten up by bugs right now.
I burned a bunch of sage before it went down, and I do have a nice little smoke fire going on the other side of the so
okay.
It's not that bad. It's really not. It's finally got cool. It's finally cool out right now.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. Any other questions? We're gonna start wrap this up. If we don't, I mean, I'll hang out as long as Yankee does, and people still got something they want to ask. But again, you know, if you haven't already, please do go and check out Yankee's channel. He's got some, whether you want to look at Bigfoot videos or not, he's got some very informative videos on there as well. So, and David,
a lot of stuff. There's going to be a lot more coming out yet too. I just want to encourage anyone that comes over, interact with me, because I really, I look for your input. I look for the input of the viewers, and I believe me, I am probably one of the most open-minded YouTubers you'll encounter. I don't care if it's a positive or a negative. I want the feedback. So tell me what you think. If that's the question I'm posing, please, by all means, interact and tell me what you think.
And I will tell you, if you leave at least my experience, I've never left a comment that he didn't respond to. So he's
I
being
try to
very
respond
serious
to every
there.
single comment I
Yeah.
get. Usually, if it's somebody I talk with off of YouTube, I may not be so quick to reply to them because I talk to them. But anybody else, like if we don't know each other, you leave me a comment, I'm on that.
Well, we got a couple more questions here. Will Star says, "Are there a lot of Bigfoot reports in Northwest Ohio?"
It will be what we call grassman, and along the rivers. Yes. Now, there's again, goes back to a theory of I've turned up in my investigations was that anytime Bigfoot grassman is spotted in this region, it is primarily to migrate, and that's it. So along the riverbanks, along the islands along the river, which is another thing. There's a lot of these rivers have these habitats of islands that run down the center of them, and in many cases they're not used by anybody. Some of them are private property, and some of them are just state reserve land, and they don't do anything with it. These are the type of areas they would claim it would migrate through if you were to see it here.
Okay.
But we have several reportings, all within just a few mile radius of where I'm at right now.
Has Yankee cool show Dave? Yankee seems cool. Just has he seen footprints? He's found interesting sounds that made him go, "What the heck was that?"
Always, I've heard sounds all my life that made me do that. If any of you, and I'm an old man, and I have spent more time in the woods than most people I know. Anyone tells you they can identify every sound at night, they're full of crap. I will still yet today hear something and have to wonder, well, what the heck was that? But
Right.
Animals really aren't that different than people. And when you add in things like a rut season or whatever, if you're an animal in heat or an animal actually mating, some crazy noises can be heard. That doesn't sound like the animal at all. And that's always the possibility. I am not one you will never be able to get me to say that a certain thing exists because of a sound.
Right.
I won't deny its existence, but I'm the one who's going to have to come across it. It's going to have to really, right. And look, guys, here's the other thing too. I know a lot about how we think, and that's a downfall for me as an investigator, because I don't even trust myself when it comes to what I see and what I hear, because I know that as any amount of time goes on from the time you see it or the time you hear it, other sounds in your life that you couldn't identify begin to work into its place. Other things you've seen in your life that you couldn't identify begin to morph into this description. And at any point, you can't even trust yourself on what you've seen. And it's it's just the way it is. Our brain is a neat little thing, but what people don't realize a lot of times is that your brain is no different than any other organ in your body, right? Your heart beats without you telling it to. Your lungs breathe without you telling it to. And your brain, it thinks without you telling it to. You're not as in control of it as you think you are. Your brain is actually in control of itself. It's got a job to do. Just like your heart's job is to put blood through your system, your brain's job is to keep you safe. And it is actually outthinking you. It's hard to concept, but your brain is a different entity. It's a very unique thing, the human brain. Very special, unique thing.
Yeah, Will Star points out something here that is actually what I think, that they migrate. I think the Sasquatch pretty much have to be highly nomadic hunter-gatherers, because if any size population of these things stayed in one area very long, there would be abundance of evidence. So yeah, I think so too, Will. Yeah, hiking deep. Several people have, like I said, we peaked out at just over 50 earlier. We're down to about 35 now because, usually, hey, I'm usually in bed by about 9:30. But I get up early. I wake up about 5:30 every morning just because. But yeah, we've had a good show tonight. And I guess he's talking about you. I really like this guy. I really, really like this guy. That's Joe from Western New York. Joe's got a good show too.
Yeah, I'd love to get up with you, Joe, and talk about your encounter. I'd even like to maybe take a piece of it, use it in a video even. All of it becomes part of the investigation and helps me better understand everything too. So I got to tell everybody on my channel, I'm not looking to find Bigfoot. We're going to find him together. That's what we're going to do. We're going to find the truth together.
Dave is fading yawn. Yeah,
he's falling asleep on us, man.
If you say yawn, it's going to make me yawn. But yeah, see, like I said, the later we go, more people pop in. Here's Don C. Hey, Don, how you doing? He usually stops in. I only had time to pop in and say hi. Well, Don, you can watch it later too, and it'll be available to watch. The only thing you'll miss is the live chat, but it'll be on here. Been a good show.
Yeah, we've talked about a lot of stuff here tonight. A lot of stuff.
Yeah, and Patty makes a good point here. I understand. I think most of us have had one experience in our lives that we cannot explain, something that just should not be real. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, should be here to see. But again, guys, thanks to everyone that took part in the chat. We appreciate that. And Yankee, man, I really enjoyed the visit. And
yeah, it was awesome.
I hope we can do it again sometime. This is just how I like these shows. I like them to be just a good, friendly sit back and around the campfire and visit. And Yankee is literally at the campfire visiting. So, and yeah, here's right here talking about making friends through the channel. Here's Malcolm. He lives not too far from here, and he and I has got to be friends, got acquainted through here and all of that. And me and Malcolm, we got to hook up sometime, go camp or so. So anyway, guys, I'm really going to call it a night now. And again, check out Yankee's channel. Good stuff on it. Check out mine if you're new here and haven't already. If you want to read my books, I've got links to them down there. That's what I use the profit from to buy new stuff and travel and do whatever I'm going to do. But I appreciate all the support. And Yankee, you got anything you want to? I just
want to remind anybody, if you're new, and I mean here as well as on my channel, leave a comment that you stopped in, you're part of the community now, or whatever you want to say, so that that way we know that you're a new individual, and that gives us an opportunity to check you back out, and in turn, it's something I always do anyway, is go back and see where people came from, check over their channel as well, right?
Yeah, but yes, and next week, I don't know if he's still here. David Perkins is supposed to be my guest next Tuesday on Tuesday Night Talk, and we're going to get some of the Comanche perspective on the little people and the Comanche Sasquatch, which is called the Kiamichi. So I'm really looking forward to that. And again, David's another friend of mine that I got acquainted with through this. So we're looking forward to that. So and Yankee, I've always been fascinated with the Native American aspects of this legend because it's so similar from tribe to tribe. I've noticed, so just really neat. So, okay, guys, have a good night. Thanks for stopping by. Yankee, thanks for stopping, for being a part of the show. It's been great,
Yeah,
brother.
thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good night. Peace.